get settled.
Ready to go.
Then I will call this meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the roll call. Or I guess, Tony, could you start us?
Tony Williams.
Cynthia Betty.
Maria Rivera.
Margot Reen. Kristen Zumar.
Stephen Franklin.
David Majewski.
Aaron Moore.
Anthony Santos, Administrator.
Chris Rogers, City Planner.
Our first item of business is the approval of minutes. Attached, you'll find the minutes from our December 15th meeting. Do I have any comments or corrections regarding those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Maria Rivera, I'll motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
There would be some abstentions.
Ah. Okay. Anybody? No, there should be. Well,
There were 4 people not present.
Yeah, so we've got 4 abstentions. Okay. Okay. Thank you for bringing them up. Public comments. I'm thinking we don't have anybody who isn't presenting something. Is anybody here just for public comment? That's what I thought. So there being nobody to make public comments, we'll move on. Our next item of business is discussion and possible vote regarding the subdivision plan of 6, 8, and 10 Arbutus Avenue. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Arbutus.
Arbutus, okay. I take it you're presenting it, or Chris, are you gonna introduce this, or do you want the gentleman?
I would have the applicant make a presentation, Madam Chair.
That would be great. You have the floor, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Morvesi of Master Plan Engineering Consulting. So I'm representing the client for the subdivision of 6, 8, and 10 Arbutus Avenues. The original intent of this subdivision with the plans for that were to originally subdivide 12 Arbutus Avenue into 3 separate parcels, in which basically 3 connected homes were built off of that. It was later decided by the client that they would further subdivide into this plan of the 6 parcels, and with those, the new utilities and everything else having to do with basically the serviceability of the lots would go in. As of right now, the lots themselves for this plan are still within the roles of the R2 area, within the city of Newcastle. And this plan basically just for the subdivision of those parcels.
Who has questions?
I have a question. Was this one that we had seen before with the previous round?
Yes,
The original plans that he was talking about?
yes, the 3 lots were created in about 2024.
I thought I remembered
Yeah.
seeing this before. So it's
Yes,
the same
yeah.
thing that we did before, but it's now being split into more sections, correct?
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. So the original plan was, I went through the planning commission, was the 3 lots originally from the first parcel. That's being further subdivided. Each one of those individuals are now into 2 for a total of 6.
So there's 3 2-family dwellings on each lot that have begun construction. And they are subdividing down the party wall of each of those 2-family dwellings to create individual lots.
But there'll be attached houses.
Yes.
Semi-detached, yeah.
Semi-detached. So the original,
They're twins, is that what they are, basically?
The city has different definitions, and for lack of a better term, I call them duplexes, 2 units on 1 lot. And what they're creating is they're creating lot lines down the party walls to create what I would call semi-detached units.
Okay.
So,
What do you mean by party walls? Are you talking the interior wall?
yes,
Okay.
common wall, on that divides the 2 family dwellings.
so the original intention of the 3 lots were to support 3 separate buildings. Each one of those buildings would be a multifamily unit, which were separated by a middle wall. This plan is now converting the 3 multifamily dwellings into 6 single-family dwellings. And then that existing party wall, which originally was just the separation of the 2 families, is now the separation of the lots themselves.
For my edification, could you tell me what, I have no opinion one way or the other, but what made you decide to do this? What was the driver?
The main driver was the marketability of those lots. The city of Newcastle supports in that zoning both multifamily and single family homes, either of detached or attached single family dwellings. Being that the lots yielded themselves to fit in both of those baskets, the further subdivision of that was a more of a marketability for it, so it would be able to attract basically individuals who want their own
On their own
homes.
home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to understand.
And that's also synonymous with other developments, other further developments within that area that they're either single family lots or multiple dwellings, but this fits within the scope of what is currently there as well.
Thank you.
I have a question, just for clarification, so this is like over in the Buttonwood area neighborhood, okay?
I just had one comment, because I rode through there a couple times. In fact, I was born and raised in Buttonwood. And it just looks so congested and the streets are very narrow. So, I'm thinking down the road, there may be some congestion issues, parking issues. Even though they do set back off of the road itself, the road itself is very narrow.
Yes, and each one of the lots will have their own individual driveway as well, which I believe support 2 vehicles themselves. But yes, with the right of ways, the neighborhood's older. It does lend itself to that, but with the setback of the houses and individual driveways to support the volume of all street parking, we're trying our best to mitigate that.
So each property has 2 parking spaces for each building,
For each unit.
Each unit.
for each unit.
Yeah, so it'd be a total of
Well,
two as well.
They're 2.
Do they have a garage or just a parking lot?
It would just be the driveway.
Driveway, that's what.
Yep.
You said these are already under construction?
Yes, yes, they're fairly through the process of rough inspection right now.
That's what I thought.
I usually build some new homes in that area. You see that if they're going on Wilmington Road, where is that if it goes into this place?
I think they back up to each other, because they're constructing on Buttonwood Avenue also.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the odd side.
Yeah, in similar fashion of the house that's in that area. So this certainly won't be an outlier with everything else.
Chris, I'm curious. Under the first set of rules, where you had 1 lot with basically 2 units on it, is the requirements of the firewall between the buildings the same with moving to the new designation, or is it the same, different?
I'm not sure, that would be a building code issue, and I'm not familiar with how the city's building code would handle converting a two-family dwelling into two semi-detached dwellings, because that's technically the terminology of these dwellings.
Okay. Do you know the answer?
With, with usual construction, whether having two individual family dwellings or a multifamily really doesn't make too much of a difference in regards to livelihood with that. Simply because they're either multifamily or single family, they still have to act as independent units. So they're, I don't know the exact answer of the construction of them, but I would assume that there's still a fire party wall in order to meet the building code to build either or.
I like the idea that it makes more opportunity for home ownership. Otherwise, it would potentially increase rentals. And it's nice when people can own their own homes, and because the property's smaller, they wouldn't be as expensive. So
Exactly, yes, and
I like that.
yeah, and it lends itself, that area also lends itself to those opportunities to first-time home buyers and my client is there, his whole niche in this construction industry is building single-family homes for more of like entry-level homes, basically. There's been a lot of redevelopment in that neighborhood, along with a couple others in the area as well. And the products that are put out in those neighborhoods have been in the past lend themselves to younger families or people that are getting their first homes.
Good.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Chris, is this just a typical request to then further subdivide after construction started? I'm just curious.
No, not really.
I mean, with all the guidelines that we have, so.
Yes, the resulting lots, meet all of the setback and lot size bulk requirements for semi-detached dwellings in the R2 zone. So that's, and of course, the original lots with the two-family dwellings met the respective bulk requirements for that type of dwelling as well.
It looked like the only thing in your letter they need to do is some more hookups.
Yes, so the plan that was sent in for this planning commission showed the original hookups from the 3 lots. The water and the new water and sewer hookups now are actually installed for the properties. They've passed the city municipal services portion of that construction. For the next meeting, and also to address the city's comments, they will be shown correctly in the plan as well.
So they already have the individual tie-ins all complete. That's all been rectified already. Okay.
Yeah, they're tied into the public system and hooked up to the structure as well.
And that's both water and sewer.
Correct.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was in the original plan anyway, because they were multi-family homes, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah, so
I think this is just adding lot lines to what we had kind of already approved, essentially.
yeah, now the configuration of the utilities on this plan was from the original approved set. So that part will then get caught up with everything else. But apples to apples, comparing the original multifamily to this single family is just adding the lot lines over there.
You have to put some more pins in, I see. I think you were the one we discussed pins with.
Yeah. So for those, there's a few options with that, just to not be as intrusive. The captive rebar pins, basically, they'll go in the middle. They'll go either in the driveways or in the grass. Over time, they'll be grown over with grass, not really seen too much from the right of way, but they'll be there in order to easily define the parcels as they go through their life cycles of buying and selling.
Any further discussion or
Not from me.
comments, questions? That'll be great.
Bree Rivera.
May I, if I can, Madam Chair, if you're leaning towards approval, I would approve the plan conditioned on the applicant meeting comments 5 and 6 of AECom's letter dated January 22nd, 2026. And I think those are already met, but we'll just need proof of it. Thank you.
Well, I can go ahead then, right?
Yes.
Okay, Bree Rivera, I make a motion to approve the subdivision plan of 6, 8, and 10 Arvidas Avenue, given the conditions noted in AECom's letter dated January 22nd, items 5 and 6 specifically. I'm sorry,
Conditioned upon providing proof of it.
and condition providing proof of those conditions being met.
I'll second that.
Do we need a roll call for it, or can we just? You can vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nay? Motion is approved.
I'll probably have those if I had to,
Okay.
if not sooner.
Okay, so we have 2 items for the battery, the first one being the revised site plan.
Thank you very much.
We're here, to set this up.
Every other one of us do that.
These are kind of.
More audience, right?
Oh, yeah, you.
And your table's got larger. This is here.
Happy is that blocking the camera? I can see most of the people. That's better.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and everyone on the Planning Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you once again. You've seen us a lot, but this should hopefully be the culmination of seeing us a lot. For me, the applicant, my name is Rob Snowberger. We've been at this since 2022, and in 2024, in March, we received a conditionally approved site plan with a list of many things that we had to do before the site plan could be approved, including several different agencies that we had to have sign off on the site plan. And I have in this folder all of those met, from the DelDOT site access permit to the Conservation District, the Denrick General Permit, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer nationwide permit, the City Fire Marshal Emergency Access Design. We have a letter from them on this new design. Their FEMA letter of map revision, the sanitary sewer plans, and then the water plans are something that will get a building permit. All this to say that this site plan that we're putting in front of you today is the original site plan with some modifications that satisfy all of those agencies that we had to go and get approval on the site plan. And my civil engineer, Bill Wendling, is here to address the things that have changed on the site plan. But of course, Mr. Rogers also has reviewed this, and I'm sure he'll have something to say about it. But this is the site plan that essentially meets all of the stipulations that have been placed on the project. And I would assume if this is approved, then you have to provide this proof to you all, and then hopefully get sign off on the plan to move forward to city council. Bill, do you wanna talk about the changes?
I guess real quickly, there's really two major changes that were done. This is the rendered one is the original plan that we had presented and got approved, okay? So the difference basically, and it was based on a Corps of Engineers saying that you cannot disturb as much wetlands as we were proposing at the time, that there's some rules that changed. Since we started the project, they said you weren't getting approval unless you go to a 1/10 of an acre. Disturbance, or less than a 1/10 of an acre. So what, this whole back here was wetland area. So what we did is move this building forward, this building alone forward, and eliminated this row parking in here. And then we proposed to put that parking in the back on this side here and straighten this line out. So the old wall that was there ran along this dark edge right here, and now it's just straight off the back of the building. And we worked with Jeff Bergstrom and the fire chief on the distance for that to make sure that they had the access that they needed and everything else.
That was a deal with the fire access.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So they're comfortable with being able to rescue on this side. Another change was, this was gabion. We were trying to make it more natural. But because we were limited in what we could disturb, we had to go with a different wall system. So the entire wall system now is like a stone placed wall, a segmental around the entire property. And the second change was that the Del Dot, there was steps going up to a landing here, and there were benches along the front here. That was mandated by you guys.
Yes, yeah.
So after I think about 7 different calls and 2 meetings with Del Dot, where they had originally said, okay, you're okay with that, you just need to sign a waiver for encroachment into the right of way. Senior people at Del Dot came back and said, well, we're not going to give you your permit unless you change that and get all that out of it. So what we had to do is we had to pull the wall back, and now this is just green, one single stair and a bench over on this side. And that's the only way we can get the permit that we need for this project. So they're the 2 major changes. Pardon me?
What was their concern? Was it encroaching on where people would walk?
Approaching on the right of way.
Okay.
Simple as that.
But so right away being the walkway, yeah. I'm sorry.
No, actually, it's not. It's not the walkway. The walkway stayed the same. It's basically having a structure in this proposed dark line right here is what they required for their new right of way. And they used to be.
What does right of way mean in this case? I don't understand.
It's at some point in time, if they ever want to come back and they want to widen their road or do something different, they have the right to do that. That's their right of way. So, I mean, the original right of ways here, they wanted to push back, and we gave it to them. And then they said, well, you can't have your structure in that area.
Okay, thank you.
We had gone so far as to, start to negotiate the waiver and everything else. And then somebody senior came back and said, no way, you can't do it. So they're the 2 major changes. I mean, is there any question? What the building itself does not change at all. The parking underneath of it does not change. Again, we just worked like 6 or 7 different iterations to come up with a system that would physically work. This is a very tight driveway, but we're proposing to put yield signs on both sides and put a convex mirror up in there so they can see each other. We don't expect this to be used very often at all.
Is that the original cut down there?
Yeah, this is the original concept, and you have a slightly different render to the wall. So basically, this part of the wall got taken out and it got pushed back.
I do have a question. I think somewhere I saw, was there gonna be 2 buildings or is there just one?
There's still 2 buildings.
Okay.
It's easier to see on this one.
Got it.
Building here
Okay.
and a building here.
Got it.
This
Okay.
building, nothing at all changed with. This building just got shifted this way.
That's what I thought yeah.
That parking in the rear there, how many cars does that accommodate?
It's like 18. Yeah.
Is that how many spaces you lost for having to move the building?
Well, we technically we didn't lose them if we could place them back there, but yes, that's how many we had to move around. Yes.
We have the original approved unit count and the
Parking
parking
number.
allocations, all that was approved, that's still on this plan. It just shifted from where it was to this. We're fortunate to have this dog leg that we didn't use. We didn't have that. So we were able to put the parking up there from where it was lost when the building flipped it this way. And
Can I take that picture down? It looks like it's a very narrow way to access that parking.
It is, it's 15 foot wide, yes.
David, is that sufficient for
Um,
your equipment? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
car fire back there?
it meets whatever the standard is, correct, for access.
Yes.
Well, it also has the side access. Of that side, you can go in now.
we have,
It's the same width as this right here.
Yeah.
we have the first group that we went to, with this new site plan was the city fire chief. And
Fire marshal.
Fire marshal. The fire marshal and Mr. Bertram, and they both reviewed it, and they gave us a letter saying that this is sufficient. And because that was our first concern, knowing that rear access was full to us, that it had to be there. And so when we had to redesign the building, that was our first stop. And so really it comes down to,
Just curious, are there gonna be cameras around in this parking lot? I mean, you're putting people behind a building. That's a little scary to me as a female.
yes, yeah, we have security for it.
I'm just curious.
With this level, with this size of property, we have property manager, sheriff, 24/7 and
And I guess that includes proper lighting and all of that.
absolutely.
Yeah, the whole thing is, because the building shifted, it's a little bit brighter in here than it was originally, but yeah, it's all wall mounted and a couple of, pole mounted and pole mounted back there. Yes, it'll be all lit.
The other aspect of this project as well is it's being financed with the HUD 221B4 program. So this project has not only gone through you all and our traditional process, but also through HUD's process. So they have extra layers of making sure those things are there, including, evacuation routes, the security, all of those things are required. They even make you keep a year and a half worth of operating expenses in the bank account that you can't touch, just because that's a HUD requirement. So it will be a well capitalized project because HUD has very strict requirements to do this type of thing. And they only finance projects that are in areas that are deemed to need additional housing. And that's the first step of that process.
What did you say the name of the program was? The HUD coverage?
221D4. It's a multifamily loan financing instrument. So essentially the federal government will insure almost like a FHA mortgage. It's just for a construction loan. It just comes with a very rigorous underwriting. So
Is there, regulations regarding the cost? Like, are you capped in a certain rent amount or have to have certain units at a certain rent amount?
no, it is a market rate program in areas that are deemed that need more market rate housing and workforce housing. So that's the first step of that process. And we actually got through that process with HUD back and received an application or an invitation to the firm round in 2024 when the FEMA issue was realized that the Gambacorta dike had been built, but the FEMA mapping had never been updated. And so there's this long process that Bill and I went through to prove and do all the modeling to show that there's something called a limit of intermediate wave action line that was shown going across not only our property, but the neighboring properties as well. And so we had to work with FEMA over a year and a half and get Senator Coons' office involved to prove that the construction of this dike had that line moved to the face of it. And so we finally accomplished that, and that was done. And officially the firm panels for FEMA were published on November 11th. Or November 13th, and should be in your packet as well. It's one of the conditions we had to satisfy. So that just took a really long time, but so that happened. And then of course, we also got our Army Corps of Engineers nationwide permit approved on Wednesday. So this site plan has been blessed by the Army Corps as well. since we got the disturbance to under 1/10 of an acre. So the other benefit of this program, this plan, is it preserves more wetlands, which of course is important. And we think that it's fortunate that we had that additional land so that we didn't have to come back and ask for a reduction in parking spaces or something like that. We were able to make it work on the site, albeit with a drive lane that isn't ideal, but still works. And we'll let, Chris can give Chris and, can give you his opinion on that, but we think it's sufficient, and have several different projects that have been approved with similar conditions or similar site, which one?
Rob and Bill, it, on this lane here, so I'm just looking at it, what, I guess in the back, what would the proposed landscaping be? Is that like grass or like stone, do you think something like that? And I guess the reason I ask that is the follow-up is 15 feet is, obviously sufficient to fit a pumper back there or whatever. But when, as I'm looking at this more, I start thinking about 43, 45 foot long tower ladders and things like that. And that's, there's obviously front and rear overhang with that. Would a rolled curb in that area be plausible? That way, if we need to get up and around, we can get back there with no issue without having to come over a big curb.
The hatched part is stable. We're doing a geotextile stabilization back there. So it's going to be grass, but it's going to be stabilized. So you can,
I'm sorry, right in this lane,
Yeah.
lane back to the parking.
I have no problem changing what, instead of barrier curb to roll curb.
Yeah, doing a rolled
Yes.
curb like through this area.
Sure.
I think it would just make this back here is should be good to go.
It's stabilized.
Yep. Yes, sir. So, I'm sorry. Right, so like,
Side radius.
I would say both, just because you're gonna have to go up and over at some point, probably with both.
Yeah, that's not an issue.
Not that I hope that we're ever back there, but I'd rather not have to call the tire guy when we're done if we don't have to.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's no problem.
Thank you.
Chris, you have two letters dated the same date for this.
There's a second.
It was a subdivision item.
Oh, okay,
That's on
so
the
that's
end.
separate, okay. I was just trying to understand. Okay.
Yes. And I do have a written response letter if y'all want it. I mean, if you want to read through it a second time, most of it's just, okay, or we comply or whatever. But if you want that, I can hand it out.
As long as Chris is happy with it.
Chris is here.
Oh, okay.
And as long as, if you guys would like, we can, Madam Chair, we can talk about the subdivision issue as well, which is essentially the same thing. It's just,
Yeah, and let's do the site plan vote and then we'll move to the other one.
Okay.
Do you have anything?
Can make my presentation or comment. So you have a letter from me to Antonina dated January 22nd. Bill went over most of the things in my letter. This letter contains the same conditions, administrative conditions as the first site plan. So, approving this revised plan with the appropriate condition will put them in the same place they were before. It sounds like they've met most of the conditions that are in here, but we need to repeat them anyway. Overall, regarding the parking, Rob is true. It's not an ideal situation. If they were started from scratch, we would say do away with that 15-foot wide parking lane to the 18 spaces back there. But given where we are and having to balance the needs of other agencies, and mainly due to the fact that the city code is not that prescriptive in dictating, access ways to, parking spaces, we find this revised site plan to be acceptable. So if you were to leaning towards approving this plan, I would recommend that you condition it on the applicant addressing items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Amy Tom's January 2nd letter. And in addition, providing rolled curb on both sides of the 15-foot wide access lane to the 18 spaces being discussed.
My letter does say that we're gonna comply with everything on that he had asked for, so.
I could make a motion. I wrote all that down.
Okay, good. Any discussion before Cynthia wants to make a motion? Okay,
All right, so I move that we approve the revised site plan for 427 West 7th Street multifamily apartment development with the condition that the applicant address items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the AECom January 22nd letter, and that they change the curbs on the 15-foot access to the 18 new parking spaces to be a rolled curb.
you wanted a second?
I second.
Okay. Do I need a,
Just makes.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you guys very much.
we got a site plan.
Creative solutions.
And the.
And the butt.
Went through about,
Back then.
you have to realize that the building's designed and the parking underneath the building. So when we were shifting it, we could not get the building. We tried it everywhere. I mean, I think 6 or 7 different iterations to get it to work. And that was really the only one that was feasible, that kept the same amount of spaces. So
Okay, so now move on to the revised subdivision plan. And is this the one that deals with that pumping station or whatever?
Yes, yep.
Okay, that's
And
what I was thinking.
And I can start.
I wondered where that thing went.
Well, I knew it hadn't gone too far.
Well.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Think I've know this by now. So in essence, there are two things to discuss with the subdivision plan. One is the pump station, and then the other is we had always had a parcel A, B, and C as approved on the last approved site plan and subdivision plan. Essentially now, since the walls have moved, we're essentially just moving the subdivision line of parcel B to be along the face of the wall. So it was originally along the face of the wall, which was out here. And now that the wall has moved back, if the subdivision plan didn't change, as you can see here, if the subdivision plan didn't change, then we would have the wall now. Sorry, no. This is the original. So as you can see, this was originally parcel B where the original wall line was. And now that the wall has pushed back, we're simply asking that the subdivision line go along the wall like it was before. It's just, it moved now. Same thing down here along the wall right here. So wherever the wall has moved, we simply want to just take the parcels that have already been approved and adjust the lines accordingly. And then the other issue is the pump station, which had some access agreements, because as a reminder for everyone, the city of Newcastle owns this parcel here. And then there's a county pump station here that's on a lease with the land. And the county and the city and us all had to come to an agreement on how to address the access, because currently the site looks like this. And there's really no, there's access to the pump station is not in question, but the question has always been, okay, when your development comes in, what's going to happen to the access to the pump station?
Is that little house, the pump station?
Yep. That's the pump station right there. So this is a lease that the county has with us, and the city of Newcastle owns this piece of land right here. And so we all had to, with the new development plan coming in, we had to agree to access to the pump station. And right now that's requiring us to create an access way here. And we are agreeing to paving to the back. And then the city had to agree to a blanket easement with the county so that the county could drive across the city's small parcel. But this has all been, and I'll let the city solicitor agree, but this has all been negotiated and agreed to. It's just yet to be signed, but we have both the city, the county, and us have all come to an agreement. And that is, so the subdivision plan essentially is a blanket easement with the county going across our site and the city site was the solution. City has agreed and the county has agreed, and that's one of the conditions that has been met. I just need to hand the signed agreement to Chris as a part of the approval. Very complicated, but at the end of the day, it works. It's just the fact that you had both city, county, and us all involved. But we will maintain ownership of this. And we have to also do landscaping for screening.
Yeah.
So that's a part of the agreement as well. I believe we did push back on the county saying, we'll put in the road, but you guys should maintain it if you mess it up. And I think the county agreed to that. So we're gonna build it, we'll put the access in and we'll do the screening. But the maintenance of the road, since they're gonna be the ones accessing it, is up to them, and they've agreed to that.
And will you have to maintain the landscaping or will they?
I believe, well, I think that I don't know the answer. I will look at who maintains the landscape. I can tell you also from our leasing point of view, this is our land. So we would.
Keep it nice.
Exactly. So it's the same thing as, to lease up the apartments, we're gonna want to keep all of this looking good. But yeah, so those are the subdivision questions. It's in my head, I put it in the two buckets. One is just truing up the lines where the wall is now. And then two is the fact that this has now been resolved with the city and the county.
It has to be resolved, so we have to go back to council and get that easement reapproved.
Gotcha. Sorry, it's been negotiated. It has not been approved yet, but it's been negotiated.
So what's our job? Recommend it?
Can I
You want to? Yeah, go ahead.
recommending regarding the easement across the city's property to the pump station is a city council issue. It's, there's nothing that the subdivision is again, the easement across the city's property to the pump station is a city council issue. And they were in the middle of negotiating that or when you had to deal with all of your other agency issues.
So our only job is to agree to the redefinition of parcels on the far side here.
Recommend.
Okay.
You can recommend to proceed to council and then
Right.
they will deal with the easement issue.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It doesn't look controversial. Does it?
Well, it's a perpetual easement across a city's property. So,
No, I mean on the right side.
The other one is-
the subdivision,
Yeah.
the subdivision itself?
Yeah,
No, it's
No.
just a function of the previous issue.
right.
moving the inside line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all the tables and things change. I mean, it's really nothing functionally that changes whatsoever.
And we said from the beginning that the subdivision is like subservient to the site plan. So they're dividing this for the site plan is driving the subdivision.
And that parcel's gonna be deeded off anyway, right? To care for, ecological something or other, I seem to recall. Like, you're not gonna take care of that piece of property. It's gonna be wild, right?
Well, we will take care of it. Again, for the leasing standpoint, we want to keep it looking good and
I mean,
everything. But-
In the back portion.
Yeah.
The wetland.
Wetlands area. Yeah. I remember an extended discussion about, that basically that got deeded off to God or something like that.
I thought
The orphan
But
parcel.
somebody got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we were
Orphan
talking about
parcel.
orphan parcels
Right.
and not having it maintained.
Yeah, so and this is, so as a standard procedure for developments that involve wetlands parcels, you have a confluence of interest where the bank doesn't want to own it because it's a liability parcel. So typically you have to do this. And then the question is who maintains it and operates it. A few of the issues were access to get back there in case the city had to get back there, so that we address that. And then, yes, our plan is to deed this off to wetlands conservation because there are groups that take wetlands. There are several.
God, basically.
Right.
Got it, okay.
But, it also, of course, behooves of us to make it look good because that's,
It's your backyard.
right, it's our back.
Just out of curiosity, not that it matters in terms of distribution, but I'm just curious, what's the total number of apartments that will get available?
152.
Is there a limit on how many cars a tenant can have?
per unit?
There isn't a limit on cars, but ultimately every unit will get at least one, and sometimes two. So we came back we had to get a variance for the parking, early on in the process with the ZBA. And so we received, I think it's on here,
It was a reduction of 9 spaces because of the retail.
Retail.
Yeah, so that's the only variance from city code that we had to ask for was a reduction. So there's supposed to be 9 parking spaces for the retail store that's gonna be in there. And so considering that it's on the street and ultimately there's access, walkable in the downtown Gateway District, we received that variance. So that was just 9 spaces for the retail. And the store that's on the site is gonna be moving into that location when it's finished. It's actually, the property is owned by the store that's there right now, By Right Liquors.
Oh, okay.
So they own the parcel, and when this is done, they're moving their store into this location. So it will remain after the project's done.
It's a good store, it's a nice store.
Yeah, those guys have been great, as we've gotten through lots of federal approvals, and really appreciate you all's time seeing us all tonight.
What do we do? Recommend that city council approve it?
Well, you have the legal authority. It's just like site plans. So you have approval authority over the subdivision plan, but it goes to city council again for their consideration by resolution. Just like,
So we would do an approval, that's a recommendation to. No recommendation.
no, just approval.
We should
And-
do an approval.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the code, staff via the code knows to take it to the city council
Okay.
to be, for their review. And this has some meat to it because there's a city property involved. So this is not just a
3 square inches.
a rubber stamp review. There are material issues with that parcel and the access to the pump station. But your role here is just to decide on the subdivision of land.
Is there any exception you would apply?
Well, you have to have the conditions that are met in your letter, right?
Yes.
Group 8, is that right?
No, next letter.
Next letter.
There's a second
letter.
and
And I apologize for misrepresenting the easement issue. I didn't.
I just wanna make sure it's clarified.
Yeah, we've been working on it with the city for a while, and we believe we have a negotiation that is suitable, but that is a city council decision. I apologize.
Are there any particular things in this other letter that are just in compliance with the letter dated January 22nd regarding the revised subdivision plan?
I would, if you are going to approve it, I would recommend that you approve it condition on the applicant addressing items 4, 6, 8, and 9.
Do I have a motion?
I can make one. Okay, I move that we approve the revised subdivision plan for 427 West 7th Street multifamily apartment development with the conditions identified in the second January 22nd letter from AECom, which is specifically about the revised subdivision plan, and ensure that points 4, 6, 7, and 9 are addressed.
8 and 9.
Oh, it's 8 and 9?
8 and 9.
8 and 9, okay. Are addressed prior to the consideration by city council.
I second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, please.
Okay. Margot Rain,
Approve.
Kristen Zumar,
Approve.
Stephen Franklin, excuse me. David Majewski,
Approve.
Reverend Moore,
Approve.
Mark Anthony Williams,
Approve.
Cynthia Batty,
Approve.
Tamara Stoner, and Bree Rivera. Thank you. Motion passes.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I didn't get a Christmas card from you guys like you promised.
We'll be in touch for it.
Try to be done by now.
So did I, believe me.
So when do you think you'll actually be able to start construction?
July. So that's the HUD closing timeline is, July is the earliest, September's the window is July to September.
Just stock up on your buy rate like the first.
They need to have a sale, right, to clear it out.
Are they gonna close that store?
They're moving it
They're
into the
moving.
retail.
To close it during construction?
They're gonna have to close during construction.
Are they gonna move at all during construction, or are they?
I don't think legally they can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to submit to the liquor board, they have to tell what's happening and then, because they can't move their license. They have to tell them that this is what's happening.
Yeah, we would know
So
now.
That's true.
We have a store. Only 900 square feet.
Well, I mean, there's hoops you could jump through to try to move it, but it is really hard.
I will tell Amrish and Ricky that for sure. That they need to think about
Should be a little tent out front during.
this. Hey, during COVID, I think it would have been okay. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it.
Good luck.
Okay. Next item of business is we had given to the city solicitor, the topics that have been generated at a November meeting for discussion and things to do in the future. And you're gonna give us a review of what we can and can't do regarding that list of suggested items. Just pull up the list.
So the questions presented were 10-year comprehensive plan review, whether or not there could be community input. A great idea to have community input. You do have to have that at public hearings though, because you are discussing with the community, which by its very nature means you're discussing amongst yourselves. So that needs to be done in public, but it's a great idea to have a community meeting where people come out and give their thoughts and ideas and what they'd like to see. Ultimately, you are the ones that develop the comprehensive plan, but certainly the input of the people that are living here, that's completely fine to do. And many communities are doing that. Affordable housing. Somebody had asked the question about whether, let's see, you could share information with commissioners regarding for affordable housing and different ideas in that respect. Again, that is part of what you are putting into your comp plan is a growth and development plan for housing and specifically affordable housing. So any information, again, as long as it's done in a public meeting and discussed in a public meeting, you can gather information. You have under the state code the right to develop reports and complete investigations that help you make decisions and recommendations to council regarding the comp plan and the future growth of the city. You do have to stay within your budget and you do have to report those investigations, but you have the right to do that. So certainly looking at different articles and information regarding ways to bring more affordable housing into the city or develop affordable housing. Any of those things are appropriate things to look at and decide whether they're right for your city or not, or good suggestions for your city or not. So those are fine to discuss. Updates on approved projects. There's no reason you can't hear that. If it's already an approved project, there really shouldn't be any more discussion on it. You should not be, I guess, second guessing some approval that council already did. But if you just want to know for your information, you can certainly know. That should
I
also
just
be.
think that in regards to that there's been things that have been approved that are years behind.
Well,
Years that they haven't broken ground or done anything. We don't know
So that's the update you're looking for, what's
Yeah,
going on,
like even
that's
with
fine.
these guys, they came in and they listed all the stuff they had to do.
Mhm.
Not only are we interested, but it's educational for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason you can't ask the question, but it shouldn't present the discussion, right? Because it's not actually a topic of, if the approval's done, it's not actually something for you to say, get on it, right?
No, we're
That's
not-
not.
No, we just wanna know where
That's why,
things
Yeah.
lie.
It gives our life meaning, Lisa.
Sure.
Why are we here?
I understand completely. There's no reason you can't ask the question. That's all I'm saying is I caution you not to have a discussion about it afterwards. Just go, okay, now we know, that's it.
For example, I know there's been discussion, I know it's been listed in the town plan, doing gated, railway access, controlled gates that, both, railroad crossings here on Route 9. They have it on Washington Street. There's far more traffic that occurs on Route 9, yet there's not controlled gates, and that's been a discussion they even had, I think, the town hall about that at the Newcastle Elementary. And it's been proposed that they were gonna actually start doing that, to address that.
I
Yeah.
think I just saw something on that Del Dot put through, I saw it on Facebook about
Okay,
the gates over by Walgreens and they're gonna have.
Yes, so
gates
they
put-
just came to a council meeting in January, presented on that. That's been a project that probably started, I don't know, in like 2016.
Years
yeah,
ago.
'cause that was supposed to have started, I think, this past summer, but.
They were supposed to move into action on that and finish it up, but Norfolk Southern, because it had been changed so many times, Norfolk Southern had to re-review it. So they are in the process of finalizing that and hope to get it done this summer. In terms of the other arms, that's an ongoing conversation and discussion for the other.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And other areas throughout the city, whether or not we
This might-
are gonna be able to add them. In order to add them, you have to make them safe. So, yeah, and that has to be a safety component of them, to have like the quiet zones and add the alarms and all of that. So it's much more than, obviously, these take a really long time to get through all the phases.
So
One that strikes me as not a planning commission item. though.
Correct.
Yeah, that's really transportation and the train.
City
companies.
council.
City council, yeah.
And I've given updates on that at city council meetings, just for the conversation. Sorry.
I was gonna say, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're not here doing business, you are also residents. So if you want to go to the council meeting and use the 3 minutes to, ask these questions, you can do that as well, right? What you're prohibited from doing is doing public business outside of this forum that is your business. If you want to contact Antonina individually and just say, hey, I'm wondering what's going on with that. That's just a question you're asking as a resident, what's going on with that? You can't, if it's not before you and it's not coming back before you, there's no reason you can't ask Antonina, a question. We approved this months ago, I'm just wondering what's going on. That's appropriate.
Yeah, we approved the place up on Cherry Lane years ago. Nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Just remember, everything that you do send is foiable.
Right.
Yeah, it may not be business, but it's still foiable, so just remember that.
How realistic is it for you to try to get, do you know what's going on, Chris or Antonina, with the sites we've approved, or would you have to call them and schedule a meeting?
Well, so that's the thing, wherever they leave off with the city, the ball's then in their court to follow up. And to submit and meet the conditions of the letters and things like that. So yes, for some of them, some of them, we have ongoing conversations like for this applicant. It just depends on what it is. But just remember that it is in the applicant's hands to move it forward. And if they have a funding issue, if they have another issue, if there's a site issue, like as you've seen the delays from the battery, that can happen with all the other locations.
So these approvals are just blanket, not blanket, but they're just, they don't expire, period. So
Not currently.
at what point, so my question is, at what point if we have recommended a site plan, it gets approved by council and everything, that our regulations change or something, are they subjected to that if they've been approved prior?
So I guess that brings the point that raises is like the city just passed or adopted the IPC or the most updated ICC. That wasn't obviously in place when all of the building at Cherry Lane was approved. So will those homes be required to be sprinklered? Because like, or they have to meet code at the time of groundbreaking or code at the time of approval? And I'm sure there's a very cut and dry answer to that potentially, but I don't know.
Is there a list of projects that have been approved and when they were approved?
Yes, it's on our website.
It is, okay.
Do you wanna address that?
I don't know about the building code. The permits have been issued, so I would think that only if there's a firewall sprinkler difference between actually, I'm not gonna.
And I was gonna say, it's not a very cut and dry answer, quite frankly. It really isn't. It's gonna depend. I mean, every time something new passes, sometimes there's provisions that grandfather it, sometimes there's provisions that don't grandfather it. So it really is gonna be often on a case by case basis that we're gonna have to look at that and see what change happened and whether it applies post permitting or pre-permitting or is grandfathered, that kind of thing. So it isn't always cut and dry.
There's a really good example of that when the city council passed an ordinance to require 2 parking spaces for every apartment. But that happened after this project was presented. And it was clear when they did that, it wasn't retroactive.
Right.
You know, so I guess they think it quite depends on the legislation. So
there's a couple things that I heard. There's one thing that I heard is a problem with approvals that are just sitting out there forever. And that would be addressed in a sunsetting ordinance, that an approved site plan, even that gets recorded, is only good for so many years. That was discussed. Is this too much information to
No, go
talk
ahead.
about without being on the agenda?
Well, we're talking about their role in future subjects, so maybe.
I mean, is this something that we would make a recommendation to council about?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's if you think that there is a hole in the zoning ordinance, the ordinance allows, number one, you can let Antonina know and staff can discuss it. Or I think there is a provision where the planning commission can recommend changes to the zoning ordinance.
See, I think this is kind of stuff we don't know that this is within our purview to even recommend or how to do that. So that's good information.
That's why I asked them something.
Yeah, that is your role to recommend changes in growth and development and zoning and land use and all of those things. Ultimate decisions are with council, but it is your role to make those recommendations. It absolutely is.
And because we have heard feedback about sunsetting provisions and whether or not we have them, we have started to look into that. So we'll look to see if that is something we as a team recommend, but in the meantime, I just want to further explore that and recommend that we look into it.
Can we put that on a future agenda?
yeah, I'd ask you to come and tell us where you are on it. Yeah. One of the things that's kind of my pet idea to follow up, and this came out of the housing organization from the state who came in and talked to us, was to encourage accessory dwelling units, which I think would be really helpful to the whole community. And I've had a lot of ideas. I realize this is not the place to talk about it. But apparently our zoning law allows, I thought it did. I thought it explicitly did allow accessory dwelling units. I found a couple of references to that. But if not, maybe we need to adjust the zoning to make it more permissible to have accessory dwelling units. But that's like a little project. And yes, it speaks to the comprehensive plan, but it also speaks to improving the lives of the people in this city and helping them develop wealth and keep their families together and all these other good things that are outcomes of that. So,
and that could be an agenda item, discussion of whether or not to recommend accessory dwellings.
I thought we already did that. I thought we had,
I think we recommended that
the
the
city
city
council consider approving.
based on the housing.
And that might have been before you.
I think that got overshadowed by the short-term
By the
rental.
short-term, yeah.
Yeah.
It actually-
Yeah, it got
that
lost.
conversation.
What-
That got hijacked.
What happened was Chris and his colleague came and gave their presentation after the state, right? And then
Like 18 months ago.
you wanted to continue
Yeah.
the conversation, but there wasn't I don't think there was any formal recommendation.
I thought we did. I'd have to go back and.
I think we recommended
Actually,
that
we
city
did.
council
We did.
get the same present, or get a presentation as well.
That was back in November 2024 that we had
Right.
that discussion about that, yeah.
But I thought we
We had the
recommended
discussion,
that,
but-
that the city council have a similar type
Yeah,
of
do
presentation
something,
to
but-
them so that they could understand the impacts.
And you
ask
could
questions.
re-recommend that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but I
completely
think it was just
appropriate.
a recommendation
If it
that
wasn't
they
addressed, it could
get
be
the same
addressed.
information that we did, but not necessarily, there wasn't a recommendation to like create this ordinance or bill.
And then after that is when the short-term rental issue came up and then that overshadowed everything, so.
So what are our accessory dwellings?
Is that in-law suite?
Yeah, you
Type
could
of
build a
thing.
set, like a small
Addition.
tiny addition or tiny little house in your backyard if it met the requirements.
Or
Where you
attached to your
could
house?
put your in-laws or adult children, something like
Or
that.
rent to somebody else. Yeah. And I think they're usually attached. That was my understanding for accessory dwelling units, but I could be wrong.
Attached.
They could
Attached to the
be, they
main
could be,
house. Pardon?
it can, it's written different ways.
Yeah.
There are,
I think it depends on the lot size,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
So, but see, there's something we could do in a group conversation is come up with something very specific and say, this is what we think we ought to do. And do it in a workshop too, so the public could come and comment on it. And then recommend that, because, lobbing it over the fence doesn't give them anything to respond to, you know what I'm saying? I think it's worth the effort. I think it would be a huge improvement for the city.
I absolutely agree.
So,
just,
Mine
if I, just on like the mechanism, I hear you, and it's hard to be in a recommending position, but not be in control of the purse strings
I understand.
and the staff time.
It's okay.
So,
We have brains and
Yeah.
we've got you and we know what the code says
but if you,
between
What
us.
if
we
you have
can
an
do it.
open, generally, if you have an open workshop, those open workshops aren't really the tool to use for zoning amendments. Because zoning ordinance is very prescriptive. It's the law. And if, a workshop or public workshop or open house is more suited for a comprehensive plan where you're just trying to get feedback on issues that are important to the community. If you have a workshop about a zoning change, it doesn't work.
So how are you suggesting we do it then?
Um,
In this
I would
meeting?
suggest you would go back to the presentation that was initially provided with the recommendations from the other municipalities and look at those codes.
But I mean,
And then
do it-
input would come from public comment, it sounds like,
Right.
correct?
Yes, I was just gonna say, if you have a public meeting, you have a section of public comment, but to invite people to come to a workshop. I hear what you're saying, and that's good insight because what happens is you're going to have a discussion about a zoning change that you as a body think is good for the city, and you're gonna have 95 other opinions that might be appropriate.
I truly want to avoid that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you on that.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to feel around for what do we have to do to get this on our agenda and do something instead of just job on about it. So
So you could just
Put it on the
similarly,
agenda.
similarly to what we did with the short-term rentals, you can say, we would like to look into this further. Can you draft a resolution or an ordinance rather?
okay,
And here's what I would suggest, because you are making recommendations, to have a meeting and come up with 5 recommendations and send them all to council at once is not gonna be probably received well, not in a mean way, just in everybody's got a lot to do. So I think maybe prioritize or if the order doesn't really matter, but sort of maybe spread them out, one a month or something. I just think you're gonna get more reception from a busy council to actually address the issue, but that's your call. If you want to send 5 up in 1 month, send 5 up in 1 month. But they're busy too. So my suggestion is sort of looking at what do we think would be most beneficial to the city right now? And let's do that first. And then what might be the next thing that's most beneficial that we'd like to recommend and see change. That also comes in your comprehensive plan review too. And in that document, you're really kind of doing it all at once. But as far as getting council to do an ordinance or resolution, I would break it up over months just
No,
to
that-
get better
that's-
reception.
there's not enough time in these
Something.
meetings to do more than that.
Yeah.
Another topic that I think we need to, that I would like to see discussed, I'm not sure whether we do this, whether that's through another committee or whatever. And it's something that I've noticed for a while, but it's even more evident now with the snow. Coming off of Ferry Cutter Road onto Delaware Street, right there by the Van Dyke Armory. It's the mishmash, there's like two different lines, they're faded, they're all, those cars are all over the place. And I really think that's like a safety issue, because you're coming in and we are towards town. Some people know you get over, some people don't know to get over.
So that's part of the area where DOLDOT is improving.
Right.
Yeah,
because-
that's how
because I know
part of that
that-
Woodhill Road thing, and they made a presentation to city council last month.
Oh, okay.
About how all that area is gonna change and they're moving,
Okay.
crossing things.
Okay,
With matters like that, you can reach out to me and I
Okay.
can figure out how to best address them.
Because first we have to look if it's DelDOT, because if it's DelDOT, that's their decision.
Right.
okay.
So that's the starting point. So yes, I would reach out to.
Yeah, I
Anthony
mean,
for that
I know we had
first.
that walkability study a while back, I'm just saying,
Mhm.
coming in off of Ferry Cutter Road to Delaware Street, it's.
Yeah, and they recognize that and they talked about that at the
Okay.
meeting, you know, to make it safer for pedestrians and drivers.
Yeah.
Can you finish going through that list of suggested topics before we kind of decide what we're gonna do?
Has locked up, let me look, just reopen the phone, okay. Hear how things are progressing. So the next one was, discussing the downtown gateway. And what can the PC do to make improvements to the downtown gateway? Again, same as previously discussed in that you have the authority to do investigations, maps and reports regarding city resources and applying to city council with your recommendations. So that would be the same thing. Discussing the downtown gateway district and how that can be improved, growth and development, totally within your purview. What you don't do was the last comment on there was just actually drafting the ordinances and resolutions. You all don't draft them. You just make recommendations. Council drafts them or has legal draft them based on what they decide they want in there.
So we identify the conditions, for example, like.
You make a recommendation and then they draft it. So in other words, and I'm just gonna, oversimplify with fruit, but if your recommendation is that council should serve apples, bananas, grapefruit and oranges, you don't draft an ordinance with that and then they decide to cross one out. You just say, hey, we recommend that you come up with an ordinance that addresses apples, oranges, bananas and grapefruits. And then they draft the ordinance deciding what they want to put in it or not.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So that
that's how that
already
works.
takes us a long way towards actually making something happen.
Yeah, you can recommend, and should recommend, anything that you think, I mean, it's your role to make recommendations for development and growth in the city, as well as zoning and land use decisions in the city. That is your role. And then council has the final say on what they do with that, but that is your role to make those recommendations.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So can we then have an agenda item in each meeting,
No,
just to, excuse me? Excuse me? A point of order, I'm speaking.
then speak.
We have an agenda item in every meeting where we can have a quick round robin for topics that people who are reading up on things, who are looking into things, who hear from people in the city, and just put out a list of things that not only does that give us options for what we might do in the future, but it also raises topics for the comprehensive plan.
That is not typically how it's done, because having that round robin is in and of itself going through a bunch of stuff that isn't on the agenda.
No, just topics, not discussion, just topics.
Understood.
And in the meeting that we had with Max,
Mhm.
he said very clearly that we could do it.
It's not typically how it's done.
Okay.
What is typically done is that everybody submits what they want on the agenda to the chair, and the chair puts together an agenda, but I don't know what your typical procedure has been, or if you have that written, so you'll
We
have to
don't have
let me
any
know if you
procedure,
have a
and it's very
procedure.
difficult to get agenda items put on the agenda.
Actually, we do have a procedure. Nobody has ever submitted anything to me, but the agenda items are pretty much drafted by Chris, Antonina, and myself. about 2 weeks ahead of time. And we kind of look at the agenda to make sure we're gonna be here within no more than about 2 hours. So we kind of want to limit what we're doing to make sure we're not gonna spend the night here.
Okay.
And then try to look ahead. And then if we know there is nothing on the agenda, sometimes we just cancel the meeting. Okay.
So you as a body decide your procedures. Do you have, and I apologize because I wasn't prepared for that today, so I didn't look and pull anything up, but do you have them written down at this point in time?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take a look at those for next time.
To the best of my knowledge, it's only about who stays on and how meetings get run, not how agenda items are proposed.
Well, I'll take a look at it and have a better answer for you next time.
Well,
Because I didn't see
It
that.
is very
before tonight.
frustrating to continually bring up agenda items and have them never appear on the agenda. And that was an issue with the Historic Area Commission as well.
Okay, I'll take a look at the procedures.
Can I also just say, I think based on what Antonina said, there are times when some topics might not be something in our purview. So a lot of times if we have an idea, we can run it past her first before we submit it as an agenda item. So there may be some other issues or legality around who makes decisions that I think having it run through Antonina initially before we suggest it as an agenda item to the group to decide it should be included, I think would make sense also.
I think that's a good idea as long as a response is sent to the person making the
Exactly.
request saying,
Yeah.
this is not within the planning commission purview, or we have other pressing issues that we cannot address it in this meeting.
Yeah.
Which is fine as well. And also one of the reasons why I don't necessarily recommend having, again, a round table. And the reason for that is, as discussed previously, you've got an audience that is then like, well, I wanted to discuss that. Why can't I discuss that? The general public doesn't always understand what you can and can't hear. So when they hear you might discuss something and then you decide not to, that can be confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just giving you some pros and cons, but I will look at your procedures to give you a more definite answer on what you all have decided as a body.
Well, we're all here spending our time, effort, and energy, which is valuable. And I felt like we have only responded in the time I've been on this commission and not gone further into things where we could actually do something meaningful. So that's been frustrating to me, and I think I hear there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I would like to suggest that we have an experiment in the next meeting and talk about accessory dwelling units, and maybe to get ready for that, we get some examples of how other cities in Delaware have zoned for accessory dwelling units, and that we could find out what are the apples and the oranges and maybe come up with something.
Isn't that our November of 24 meeting?
Pardon?
Yes.
November of 24 meeting
I think
agenda that they
That
gave
was
us all that information.
They gave us examples, I think, from other.
I think there was it's printed out.
And
So the notes
So
on.
we have to go
Minutes.
back to,
Correct.
go back to.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate if somebody doesn't have that information to request it be sent to them since it's since it was.
Yeah. That's fine. That's like an agenda packet. Yep. Yeah, so I would suggest if you all are willing that you put on
well,
the
we
agenda.
already know, we have a number of things on next month's agenda, so it can be a suggested item. But until we know fully what's on the agenda, I don't want to say we're gonna do something or we're not.
Understood.
And kind of a point of order when asked about putting the discussion on there, it was said it was not in violation of FOIA. It didn't say that we had to do that. Our attorney didn't say we had to do it, or we couldn't do it, or we could do it. He just said it was not in violation of FOIA.
As it has been so extremely difficult to get topics on the agenda for the benefit of the community, I was seeking any possible solution to make that happen.
I'll look at the procedures and get back to everybody.
Thank you.
Can that procedure be shared with all of us so that we all know what it is?
It's supposed to be on the website. I don't think it is.
Okay. So of the several topics. I think the next comprehensive plan is 5 years out. We just finished the 5-year review. So we can put together a plan for how we're gonna approach that, but I don't see that we're gonna start much of anything till we're about 3 years out at the earliest. I mean, there's no point in having workshops now for something that's not gonna be done for 5 years, because we don't know what changes are gonna happen between now and then.
I agree.
Lucan's Drive probably won't still be built. Lucan's Drive will not still be built.
And in regards to that, Anthony, you said there already are discussions about a sunsetting.
Yes,
Ordinance,
it's
so
been brought up
that's-
at council,
Okay.
as well, and so we started, Chris, myself, Jeff, Mike, our other attorney, we started looking into that. So, I think that we, are working on a draft, ordinance. I have to refresh my memory with where we left off with it, but I can provide an update at the next meeting. if
And
we're
that
not ready
ordinance
for
would
that.
come to us then.
You and council.
So is it agreed that we want to make accessory dwelling units a further discussion topic as our agendas allow?
Sounds
Yes.
like we have a consensus.
Okay. PAC report.
I have two reports tonight, one for the December 11th meeting and one for the January 8th meeting. I wasn't present at the December 11th meeting because I was having surgery that morning. But the information I have was gained from speaking with the chair and also by reviewing the minutes. For the December 11th meeting, there were no older or tabled applications on the agenda. There were two new applications. One for 108 East 4th Street for new windows and one for 900 Washington Street for a new fence. The 4th Street was applying for the replacement of a total of 9 windows. 6 for the front side and 3 in the rear. The windows were to be replaced with Marvin Ultimate Wood windows and met all design guideline requirements. And per the minutes, that motion was passed unanimously to approve the application. Washington Street was applying to install a 440 foot, 6 foot high privacy fence on the side and rear boundaries of their property. The original application for vinyl clad fencing had been denied. This was a revision featuring pressure treated wood or red cedar. It was confirmed that the fence posts would not have caps on them, and the motion was passed unanimously to approve the application. The January 8th meeting on Vice President, there were no older or tabled applications on the agenda. There were 4 new applications. 110 East 3rd Street for a new garden shed, 1 Battery Park to add deck in the front of house and redo or expand the deck in the rear. 42 The Strand, which was proposed by the Delaware Historical Society, and it was a Reed House conservation project. And 110 East 3rd Street had a second application to demo existing deck and replace with a 2-story deck. And in the interest of time, both applications for 110 East 3rd Street were considered and presented first. The new garden shed met design guidelines. The question really was about placement on the rear lot and would it be visible from the street. The owner was present to discuss location options to provide both photographic and plot layouts for visualization. The motion was seconded and passed unanimously to approve the new garden shed. The owner brought a representative from Footprint Architecture to discuss the proposed deck design and provided multiple elevation renderings and lot layout documents. Ultimately, it was decided the existing 1-story deck could be replaced and slightly extended, but the 2-story deck would not be approved due to it being inappropriate scale issues. So a motion was passed for modified approval without the second story deck. Way to the Strand, the hack chair, she recused herself from this discussion due to potential conflict of interest. A representative from the Delaware Historic Society was present to provide photographic documentation and explanation of the project. And essentially the issue centered on the crumbling front archway and the surrounding pediments of the front grand entrance. And there were other areas that they know that we're going to be needing work in the future, but right now the focus was strictly on the grand entrance. And reviewing the application, I learned a lot about linseed oil paint and why it was preferable for the conservation. And a motion was passed unanimously to approve the conservation project. And then the last application was for One Battery Park. There were new owners, they had not yet moved in. The owner is handicapped and needed modifications to allow her to safely ingress and egress her property. There was discussion about the materials and design of the two decks. One concern centered around the overall design and would it be aesthetically fitting in with the surrounding properties. A motion was passed to partially approve the proposed footprint and use of the site with a tier 1 review for materials and design. The motion was passed unanimously. And then on a separate issue, a document was presented to us pertaining to the application and review process for commercial signage in the historic commercial district. And it was shared that this draft began about 1 year ago. And it was suggested that this would be on the agenda for the February meeting. However, I received an email from Ms. Levine indicating that the February 12th meeting has been canceled due to the lack of tier 2 applications being submitted on time. So now there'll be a March meeting instead. Any questions?
What does ACT stand for?
Historic Area Commission.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm still new. I'm trying to feel my way
Welcome to
around.
Newcastle.
Well, 900 Washington falls in their hat. They have a historic area commission.
Apparently, I was
That
kind of,
historic house that was just sold.
no, that's not that, no.
You have to look on the house listing to see them. You know,
Like
they're-
the Balltown side?
I have a question also, yeah, so.
900 Washington, her house.
Yeah.
Coming into town on the right.
That was in the store.
I'm just trying to.
Right off the top of my head.
The basic, that they wanted to do a final.
Yeah, no, I just didn't think it went that far out.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Or is there any further business, anybody? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. David Lester.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Tell me.